Star Wars Celebration took place in London last week, and we finally know what the future of Star Wars looks like. There was a bunch of announcements, and the hype has been generating big time ever since. So in today's video, I'm going to recap everything that was announced and, of course, analyze it. So let's get right into it. We are finally going to see Star Wars hit the big screen again. Kathleen Kennedy announced 3 new movies. Dawn of the Jedi was announced as the movie taking place 25,000 years before the Skywalker saga. James Mangold will direct the movie. What we know about the story so far is little, but it will be telling the stories of the first Jedi. A couple of notable movies James Mangold directed included Logan and the upcoming Indiana Jones movie. Dave Filoni's work is coming to the big screen as well. Dave's movie will culminate the stories and characters from The Mandalorian, Book of Boba, and Ahsoka. This movie will probably feel like Marvel's Endgame, where all the characters will come together and be involved in some big conflict against the New Republic and the Empire, First Order, whatever they're going to identify as once we get to that point. It now makes sense why these shows have been connected in some way. Star Wars is going to try a connected universe, the SWU, if you will. Then there's the third movie, the most divisive movie of the 3. Daisy Ridley is returning as Rey. Her movie will take place after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, 15 years after to be exact. Rey will be creating a new Jedi Order. Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy will be directing this one, and she does have a lengthy resume, but what I know her from, specifically as of late, was Ms. Marvel. She was one of the directors for that show. Also, a shout out to Sharmeen, as she will be both the first woman and first person of color to direct a Star Wars film. Now let's analyze these movie announcements, shall we? Despite not knowing much about Dawn of the Jedi, I am excited about all the possibilities. I have been wanting Star Wars to go back in time for a long time. I've brought this up many times on my channel. Let's see the early days of the Jedi and the Sith. Let's see the founders of the Jedi Order. Let's explore the religion and learn more about Force powers. 2 of the most interesting things in Star Wars include the Force and lightsabers. Now, 25,000 years prior to the events of the Skywalker saga seems kind of like a long time, but this could be interesting because it could actually be a good strategy for Lucasfilm because they could go ahead and fit more content down the line, which helps bridge the gap between Dawn of the Jedi and the Skywalker saga. And like I said, I just think exploring more of the Jedi and the Sith in their early days, back in their prime, that would be great. And of course, more conflicts and wars between the Jedi and the Sith. I want more lightsaber fights. I have high hopes for Dave Filoni's movie too. I feel extremely comfortable with Dave at the helm for the grand finale of the Mandoverse, or whatever you want to call it. I am expecting great things from Dave as he works on the conclusion for the first era of Star Wars live-action TV. Kathleen Kennedy did mention that this movie is about 6 or 7 years away. That's a long time, but it makes sense. We're probably going to get a few more seasons of The Mandalorian, and I'm assuming Ahsoka will probably have multiple seasons as well. And maybe we get a season 2 of the Book of Boba. So yes, we have to be patient, but I do want to see more of The Mandalorian, and I don't want Ahsoka to be rushed. I think that's another show that has a great opportunity to be really good and should have a couple of seasons. Personally, I could care less about a second season of the Book of Boba, if I'm being honest. I would love to see Boba return. Again, if it's a connected universe, he could pop in one of these other shows, but I just don't know if we should really spend a lot of time doing another season of the Book of Boba specifically. And again, looking at the Rey movie, haters of the sequel trilogy don't want this movie. I'll admit I'm not exactly jumping for joy for it either, but I am kind of curious to see what they're going to do with the story, especially with it not being attached to the saga. I feel like maybe there's less pressure because it's not a new trilogy coming out. If it's just a standalone movie that maybe sets in motion some other future Star Wars storytelling, then okay, I guess I could live with it. I've always wanted to see the revival of the Jedi, and we're currently watching the revival of Mandalore and its people in The Mandalorian show, and I would really love to see something similar with the Jedi Order. The Jedi Order needs to change so it doesn't fail epically like it did in the past. What's the conflict in the movie? Well, Rey perhaps struggles with being a teacher and has to perhaps protect her school from dark side users that maybe want to recruit the kids to join the Sith or something like that. I know there's a ton of people that don't want to see Rey or anything related to the sequel trilogy. I do understand and agree with these people for the most part. However, nobody should really be surprised by this. Do you really think Disney and Lucasfilm would never touch their stories and characters ever again? And personally, I like Daisy Ridley, and I want to see her leave Star Wars by going out on top. Yes, her character deserves criticism due to the writing, but Daisy herself is not the problem. I would actually be angry if they were doing, say, another trilogy or announced a lot of different projects based off of the sequel trilogy. They did not, so I really don't think it's the end of the world. Let's take a look at the shows now. The third and final season of Bad Batch will be coming out next year. Then you have The Skeleton Crew, which will be coming out later this year. We still don't know much about this show other than it includes Jude Law in the cast, and the panel that they had at the convention basically said it's Star Wars meeting the Goonies. So we will see how that goes. Also, we will be getting Season 2 of Andor officially next year, a second season of Tales of the Jedi was announced, and then you have Season 2 of Star Wars Visions, which is officially coming out May 4th, along with another animated show, Young Jedi Adventures. We also learned that we will be watching The Acolyte next year. But perhaps the best moment of the entire weekend was the Ahsoka trailer being released and that we will be getting this show in August. The trailer was absolutely phenomenal. The show looks great. They didn't reveal much story-wise, but we got a great glimpse of many cast members. The cast from Rebels will be joining Ahsoka in her show. We will be seeing Ezra, Sabine, Hera Syndulla, Chopper, and Thrawn. No word yet if Zeb will be in the show or Jason Syndulla, the son of Kanan and Hera. Now, granted, the fact that we did see Zeb make a little cameo appearance in The Mandalorian, I would assume we would see him, but we will just have to wait and find out. We also saw two characters that appear to be on the dark side. There's Baylan, who is played by Ray Stevenson, and he's also joined by a female dark side user. We don't know her name yet, but she is played by Ivana Sakno. Also, something that's interesting, they are wielding orange lightsabers. I can't wait to see what that is about. There's also speculation that Baylan could be a version of Jairus Sabayoth. Jairus was a Dark Jedi in Timothy Zahn's trilogy of novels called Heir to the Empire. It also appears that the story in this show will be at least similar to those books. Dave Filoni did mention that he consulted Zahn to get an idea of how to bring these characters and story to life. Ahsoka did refer to the Heir to the Empire in the trailer. Heir to the Empire is part of the expanded universe, and it takes place 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. Grand Admiral Thrawn is trying to gather the Imperial fleet and find a Dark Jedi as he tries to lead the Empire back to power. You know what's interesting about Heir to the Empire? It also includes characters such as Luke, Leia, Lando, Han, and Chewbacca. Will they make an appearance at all? Will they be CGI, or will young actors fill these roles? We will have to see just how in-depth they go into the story of the books, or if they will just be referred to. But it does kind of make you wonder, as we've seen Luke and Ahsoka together in the Mando episodes of the Book of Boba. Oh, and I should mention that Morgan Elsbeth, the woman Ahsoka fought, will be making an appearance as well. I absolutely cannot wait to watch Ahsoka in August, and I'm truly interested to see what Dave Filoni does with the connected universe. Now, a couple of quick notes before I cap off my thoughts in the video. Return of the Jedi will be returning to theaters on April 28th for the 40th anniversary of the film. Phase 3 of the High Republic was also announced. Those are the books and comics that will continue in October and finish in March. Lastly, the next Star Wars celebration will take place in Japan in 2025. While it's sad to see no celebration next year, I think it is happening for a reason. In 2025, they are going to bring the heat. We will probably get movie trailers and other big news then. And that's honestly fine with me, because we're going to be pretty set for the rest of this year and next year with everything that they've announced. There's a lot of Star Wars content coming up over the next 2 years. Overall, I am a big fan of this plan. Star Wars is in a new era, and we do have to accept the fact that we aren't going to get a bunch of Skywalker-related stuff. Star Wars is going to have to enter uncharted territory. But what's most important, in my opinion, is focusing on the elements that make Star Wars unique. The Force, the Jedi, the Sith, the lightsabers, the ships, the battles, and all this lore that has yet to been explored on screen. Disney is serving us a buffet right now. There's a little something for everyone. You have 3 movies coming out that are each in different time periods. We are getting new shows that feature completely new characters and stories. We're also getting shows that feature fan favorites like Ahsoka and the Rebels characters. And if you are an animation fan, then you are getting a ton of content too. And there's stuff for people of all ages. So I really can't complain about that. Now, of course, we will see what happens when this stuff comes out. We'll have to see how they tell these stories. I'm sure there's going to be some controversy and some debates on, oh, they should have done this, they shouldn't have done that. But you know what? For right now, I'm pretty pleased with what they're planning on doing. Personally, I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you should be happy. You should be happy with at least something that was announced. If you are a content creator like me, well, you should also be happy too, because there's going to be plenty to talk about in the Star Wars universe for at least the next couple of years. And I'll admit, I'm a huge critic of Disney and Kathleen Kennedy, but I will give props when it's due. Kathleen and the company recognized, I think for the most part, that Star Wars needs a good run with content. We need some good stories, we need some good ideas, and honestly, I think holding off on even more sequel trilogy content was a great idea. The sequel fans are getting something, they aren't getting neglected. Also, they are holding off on the Rian Johnson trilogy, they are holding off on the Taika Waititi movie for now at least. Regardless of where you stand on some of the debates with Star Wars content, we all can recognize and agree that there are some controversial areas within the franchise. And at least for me, I think it's a good idea that they are avoiding all this stuff and focusing on new ideas and some other areas, especially ones that are worth exploring. Taika's movie could come out at another time. No one's saying it can't happen, but I think his movie needs to be held off for now. Kathleen Kennedy also mentioned that the Lando show with Donald Glover is still technically on. They aren't producing it right now, but it appears that they still want to have it happen. I don't think you should wait too much longer on that, to be honest. But again, let's focus on what will help Star Wars bounce back, and I think most of what they have announced can do that if they do it properly. So that's all I have to say for now, but I am looking forward to the future of Star Wars. God willing, if I'm still a YouTuber down the road, I will definitely be talking about this stuff. Let me know what your thoughts are on the future of Star Wars down below. Stay tuned next week for my full review on the Season 3 of The Mandalorian, and feel free to like and subscribe for more. Peace.